Shana Tova. I am Lynn Weinstein, and the first thing I'd like to do is welcome you to Temple Sinai. I welcome all of you who are here with us in our beautiful sanctuary in Delray Beach, and all of the friends who are joining us in the comfort of their own homes this evening. Friends who are here, may I ask you to please silence your cell phones and other devices this evening. You are joining members and guests who are safely gathered in our sanctuary, and we are grateful to our Board of Trustees and our staff for making sure that we are safely gathering tonight. Our spiritual leader, Rabbi Aviva Bass, and our guest rabbi, Brett Tanser, along with Dr. David McFarlane, our musical accompanist, and our guest cellist, Elena Alamalia, have planned a wonderful, comforting service for you this evening. It will be inspirational and soothing because I think all of us could use a little soothing this new year. I want to remind you, if you're joining us for morning services, they will start at 10:30 tomorrow morning and will include Yizkor prayers. Our afternoon service, when we return again to the sanctuary, will begin at 5:15. For those of you who are here, if you find that later in the service you're more comfortable in another location, there is a great deal of space behind you, and please feel free to quietly move to another location. Also would like to ask you to show your support for the annual High Holy Day food drive sponsored by Rails Jewish Family Services and the Jacobson Food Pantry. You can bring in your non-perishable goods tomorrow, and we will collect them and make sure they get to the food pantry next week. But also, you can bring food to Temple Sinai at any time. There is a need for food at that food pantry, and there have been times when those shelves have been empty in the past 2 years. Before we get into our worship services this evening, I'd like to thank the sponsors of our service for Kol Nidre and prayers associated with our evening service. They include Ruth Seidel and Sam Weinman in honor of their families, Stephen Sapoznik and family in memory of Ellen Sandra Rothenberg Sapoznik and Nora Resnick Sapoznik, Marcia London and Jack Crespi in memory of family and friends who are no longer with them, Harvey Feingold in memory of Holocaust survivor Sally Tenser, mother of Helene Wortel, Elaine Farber and Martin Gerber in honor of their friends and family, Lynn, Brad, and Kyle Dunton, Andy and Seth Dinsky in memory of Philip Dinsky and Brett Dinsky, Marcus Corwin and family, Betty and Eric Adams in honor of the resilience of Temple Sinai, and also Elaine and Steve Young in honor of their family, Sue Wexler in memory of Walter Wexler, Helen Waxberger, and Eileen Tabasco, Marcia A. Weber in memory of her family and friends, Helene and Sidney Wortel in memory of their parents, Harriet Stein and Samuel Shapiro in memory of Martin Stein and Carol Shapiro, the Salkoff family in honor of Rabbi Aviva Bass, Doreen Salkoff in memory of Jerome Ira Salkoff, Sandy and Bob Silver in honor of their family, and I'm also a sponsor with my family in memory of my husband, Arnie Weinstein.
Thank you, Lynn. Before we begin our service, I just want to give a word about fasting. So many of you know this already, but I do want to reiterate that if you have a medical condition for which you have been told not to fast, or you think it might be dangerous to fast, or you're taking medication that requires you to have food in your system, then please do what the doctors say. It's actually one of the first Mishnahs I learned from way back in the 2nd century. They had in the Mishnah this very thing, and it said, you don't follow the advice of your rabbi, although I'm telling you to do this, but you follow the advice of your doctor. If your rabbi and your doctor are contradicting on whether or not you should fast, which we are not, follow what your doctor says. I don't want anyone fainting in the aisles, please, okay? Or at home for you as well. And with that, I'd like to begin by lighting the Yisker candles. Before I continue, can you hear me all the way back there in the back? Good, good, good. light the paper on fire. All right, I'll say it first and then I'll light them. I don't want to risk it. Okay. We light this first yahrzeit candle in the memory of all our loved ones. May their memory be a blessing. And to all, and in memory of all who have perished of COVID. And we light a second yahrzeit candle in the memory of the soldiers of the Israel Defense Force, all those who sacrificed their lives for the sanctification of God, and all those who were murdered during the Holocaust. May all their memories be a blessing. You are blessed, Eternal One, who places within us life everlasting. This isn't in your booklet. Baruch atah Adonai, notea b'tochenu chayei olam. The human spirit is a lamp of God, searching out what lies within us, guided by the flame of conscience. On this sacred night, we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness on this atonement night, and we give thanks for love. And we're going to have the candle lighting of the Yom Kippur candles, as I invite Co-President Lynn Weinstein to light those.
You abound in blessings, Adonai our God.
Press the button. Press the button.
Let's just do the blessing.
You abound in blessings, Adonai our God, sovereign over all creation, for making us holy with your commandments and teaching us to kindle the lights of Yom Kippur. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. And now, if you have a talit with you, but you do not have it on yet, on page 2, we have a blessing for the talit. And just so you know, this is the only evening, the only night of the entire year when we are supposed to wear a talit, except for those who are on the bima who are leading services, that's different. But everyone is permitted in the congregation to wear a talit at this time. The reason why normally we don't wear a talit if it's nighttime is that in years gone by, we couldn't see the seat, and you're supposed to look at them. But on Kol Nidre, it is so important an evening, and such a holy evening, that we wear a talit tonight as well. So let's say the bracha, page 2. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef batzitzit. Amen. Okay. And now we've come to the time that we've been waiting for, and for which this evening is named, the Kol Nidre. And we're going to open the ark, and when we do so, please rise, and we turn to page 4 for B'Shiva Shalmala, and then we'll go into Kol Nidre.
של מטה, עדת המקום ועדת הקהל, אנו מתירים להתפלל עם כל הווריונים. וסרי וחרמי וקונמי וחינויי וכינוסי
Before we close the ark, let's read the translation for Kol Nidre together on the bottom of page 5. All vows, bonds, devotions, promises, obligations, penalties, and oaths, which we have vowed, sworn, devoted, and bound ourselves spiritually before God, from this Yom Kippur to the next Yom Kippur, may it come to us for good. We repent for all of them. Let them be absolved, released, annulled, made void, and have no effect. They will not be binding or have any power. Our vows will not be vows, our bonds will not be bonds, and our oaths will not be oaths. On page 7, we continue.
ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך.
And God responded, I forgive as you have asked.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
And we turn now to the bottom of page 7 and continue with the Baruch. Please be seated. We turn to page 8 now and we read responsively, paragraph by paragraph. Page 8. Day and night are yours, creative spirit of the universe, the muted colors of twilight, the radiance of dawn. Yours are the spreading wings of light, the deepening shadows of darkness, and ever-changing drama. In the human heart, too, the struggle between light and sunlight.
unfolds.
From sunlit heights of generosity, the human heart sinks to the gloomy depths of selfishness. Although we fall, you give us the strength to rise again.
Return to you.
All who hear your call to goodness are embraced. All who reject emptiness and evil find acceptance from you. We come into your presence this night of Kol Nidre, aware that our shortcomings and weaknesses are many, yet encouraged by your promise of forgiveness. We choose freely the path of repentance, restoring wholeness to our lives and holiness to the world.
אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני
Baruch Shemo,
יאי נאי
Yai, 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 We continue with Ahavat Olam on page 9 at the bottom, and please join with us. love beyond all space and time. Your love enfolds your people, Yisrael. We receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and rise up, and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love. We rise now for Shema. You may be seated. We continue at the top of page 11.
You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart,
With all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hands, and they shall be
for frontlets
between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates, so that you remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God. And we continue now with the Micha Mocha to our High Holy Day melody. Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Torah tehilot osefele, malchut harovanecha, okei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zeli anu v'yamru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar kifada Adonai et Yaakov, v'ge'olo mi'ad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Of all that is worshipped, is there another like you? Maker of wonders, who is like you? In holiness sublime, evoking awe and praise. When your children saw your sovereign might, the splitting of the sea before Moses and Miriam, they responded, "This is my God." And they said, "The Eternal will reign till the end of time." As it is written, Adonai will save Jacob and redeem him from one stronger than himself. Blessed are you in our lives, Eternal One, who redeemed Israel. Please join me in reading at the bottom of the page the Hashkivenu. Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With power sublime, spread over us your shelter of shalom, and through your wisdom restore us, make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives. Be our shield. Make us stronger than the enemies we face, illness and war, famine and sorrow, and stronger than the enemies in our hearts, weakness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings, for you are the monarch of grace, the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us, we who go forth in life. Watch over us, that we may come home in peace, now until the end of time.
Baruch atah Adonai, abore sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Blessed One, you spread over us a canopy of peace, a shelter of shalom over all Israel, your people, and over Jerusalem.
Ki vayom hazeh yechaper aleichem, v'taher etchem mikol hatoteichem, lifnei Adonai titaru.
For on this day atonement shall be made for you, to purify you from all your wrongs, and pure you shall be in the presence of Adonai. Page 14, the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah
Amen.
Ve'yalma Niberach Hirotei Ve'yamelich Malchutei V'chayechonu V'yomechon Uv'chayem L'chol Beit Yisrael Bagalav izman kariv v'imeru Amen. Yesh merabba mivora Me'alav ulol me'al maya Yitbarach v'ishtabach v'yitvar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha
Brichu
Le'ela u'le'ela
Eila mikol berchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Namiran be'alim
Namiran me'alema v'yimeru
Please rise in body or in spirit for the tefillah, beginning on page 15.
Adonai
Sfatai tiftach Adonai שפתיים תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך ופי יגיד תהילתך אדוני שפתיים תפתח אדוני שפתיים תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך ופי יגיד תהילתך
Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei הגמור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו ויהבו זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים. וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. יאללה לה 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 la 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 זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וכותבנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם מזרע שרה. הגיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד אתה. מחכה חיים בחסד, וחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים רופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני Mashiach Yeshua.
מי כמוך ברחמן. זוכר צורת החיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל.
Amen.
Please take a few moments for some silent prayer or meditation, and please be seated and look up when you are finished so that we know when we may continue. We continue on page 19 in our prayer booklet.
Eloheinu, Elohe Avotenu, V'imotenu, תבוא לפניך תפילתנו, ואל תתעלם מתחינתנו, שאין אנו עזי פנים, וקשה עורף לומר לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, צדיקים אנחנו, ולא חטאנו, אבל אנחנו חטאנו.
Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. Please turn to page 20 for the Ashamnu.
Ay, 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 ya, da, 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 ya, da, 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 Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Dibarnu Dofi,
ay, 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 ya, la, 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 ya, la, 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 Hevinu,
Hevinu,
Vehirshanu,
Vehirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Hamasnu,
Hamasnu,
Tafalnu Sheker,
Tafanu Sheker,
ay, ay,
Lai, 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 la, 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 la,
Yatsnura,
Yatsnura,
Kizavnu,
Kizavnu,
Latsnu,
Latsnu,
Maradnu,
Maradnu,
Nyatsnu,
Nyatsnu,
Latsnu, Tarnu, Kishinu Ore,
Kishinu Oref,
ay,
la
ay,
la
ay,
la
ay, ay,
la 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 la
Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shichatnu,
Shichatnu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tahinu,
Tahinu,
Titanu,
Titanu,
ay,
ay
ay,
ay 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 ay.
Please join me. We have abused, betrayed, cheated, destroyed. We have enslaved, borne false witness, gossiped, hated, insulted. We have jeered, killed, lied, manipulated, neglected, oppressed, been petty. We have quarreled, rebelled, stolen, transgressed. We have been unkind, violent, wasteful, xenophobic. We have yelled and have been overzealous. Of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander. We devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey. We abuse, we defy, we corrupt. We commit crimes, we are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral. We kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. it may seem a little overdone for most of us, a lot of these sins. Hopefully, there are some of these, like the killing. I'm hoping nobody who can hear me right now has engaged in that behavior. However, you'll notice this is not in the singular. This is not for the individual. We are doing this for the whole entire house of Israel. So all over the world, Jews are saying these words, and unfortunately, probably someone among us has done every one of these. I hope not, but maybe. Okay. You know the secrets of the universe and the secrets of the human heart. You know and understand us, for you examine our inner lives. Nothing is concealed from you, nothing hidden from your sight. Eternal One, our God and God of our ancestors, we pray that this be your will. Forgive all our wrongs. Pardon us for every act of injustice. Help us atone for all our moral failures.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזדון ובשגגה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בדיבור פה.
The ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, please join me, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בכחש ובכחזב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ברכילות.
The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בפלילות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזלזול הורים ומורים.
The ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בווידוי פה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהונאת ראיה.
The ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחוזק יד, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך במשא ובמתן.
The ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בפריקת עול.
The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביצר הרע, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בנשך ובמרבית.
The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and the harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בלצון, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בתניית גרון,
the ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בשנאת חינם, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בטומאת שפתיים,
The ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech.
ויעל
כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו. ויעל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו.
For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. And I'd like to call one of our co-presidents, Betty Adams, to say a few words. And hopefully the microphone will work and we all can listen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Shana Tova. To those of you here in the sanctuary and those watching from home, we're grateful you've chosen to be with us. My name is Betty Adams, and I have the honor of being co-president of Temple Sinai along with Lynn Weinstein. Both of us have been members for over 20 years. There's so much about this congregation that makes us proud. I want to share one of my favorite pieces of Temple Sinai trivia with you. Over 40 years ago, a group of middle-aged Jewish people decided that Delray Beach needed a reformed temple. You may find this hard to believe, but Delray Beach was so undeveloped at that time that this building was one of the first buildings on the street, and the founders of the temple, of Temple Sinai, were allowed to choose the numbers in our address 2475. And they chose it because 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 5 adds up to, anybody? 18, Chai. Chai means life in Hebrew, most of you know that. And this building has been full of life ever since. I think often of how hard those founders worked to create this beautiful spiritual home from the ground up, and I wonder, what was their intention? I think that they knew that Temple Sinai would not only be the place in Delray Beach where Reformed Jews could pray, but a place where children would develop their Jewish identities, to ensure that they would carry our beautiful traditions with them into adulthood and hopefully pass them on to their children. Could the founders have known that in 2021, a boy who started as a 5-year-old in our religious school would grow up to be a teen that would help run the video equipment to broadcast worship services, learn to sound the shofar, and lead the teen youth group here at Temple Sinai? Or that another religious school student would go to college and return to be the lead teacher and director of our religious school? Or could they have foreseen that the daughter of an interfaith marriage would start as a preschooler, become a bat mitzvah, a confirmand, and then actually get married on this very bima, and carry her love of Judaism forward to teach Jewish children at one of the largest Reformed synagogues in the Northeast? These are just a few examples, but I know more. I'll talk to you sometime. And I feel strongly that what we do here has affected many young lives in a positive way. My colleagues on the Board of Trustees here at Temple Sinai don't agree on everything. Is that a surprise? But I believe that we all stand firm that a religious school and youth activities are non-negotiable. Like most religious schools and most congregations, our school is not a profit center, and in fact, it's mostly supported through your donations and various fundraisers when they're possible. But it is worth everything to us to be able to provide a Jewish education to any family that desires for their children or grandchildren to continue our beautiful traditions. And this is surely what a synagogue is meant to be and what our founders were thinking. There are certainly other aspects of our temple that are important to all of us, and I'm sure that they're part of what the founders intended to carry on our Jewish values, social action, and social justice. For example, for about 4 years now, our Social Action Committee has never stopped providing sandwiches, clothing, and toiletries every week to those in need, even throughout the pandemic. And I personally have often seen the tears of gratitude in the eyes of those we're serving. It's really heartwarming to know that we're making a difference in their lives. The many volunteers who work to make this happen every week know the feeling of true tzedakah. That means the donors benefit from giving as much or more than the recipients. I think our founders intended Temple Sinai to be a place for people to gather, to promote charity and kindness, and to experience the wonderful feeling of true tzedakah. Lifelong learning has also always been important here. Shabbat Torah study, adult B'nai Mitzvah classes, Sundays at Sinai programs with presentations on many topics, clergy and lay-led classes, book clubs, and our extensive Jewish library. If you haven't visited it, you really should. There are opportunities for anyone with a thirst for knowledge. And of course, we're a house of prayer. Worshiping together was certainly something our founders envisioned when they were designing and building this very sanctuary. We get so much joy and inspiration from our clergy and from praying and singing together on Shabbat and holidays, whether virtually or carefully in our building. Although having the opportunity to worship from home was so important over the past 18 months, we've heard over and over how much our members and others have missed being present in this room, in this building. So let's talk about our building. Whether it's full of people or not, as my co-president Lynn Weinstein would say, it takes a constant flow of shekels to keep it comfortable, safe, and in good repair to welcome treasured members and guests. This has added to the major budgetary challenges we face as a small synagogue with an accessible dues structure. Regular building maintenance goes on whether or not the building is occupied. Recently, we learned that we need to replace 4 air conditioning units. Ouch. If you've had to replace even one in your home, you can understand that 4 commercial units represent a significant pile of shekels. Due to the pandemic, we sold fewer than 50% of the usual tickets for High Holy Days, which is an important source of income for us. And it has now been almost 2 years that we've had to get by without our most successful income-generating activities, including bingo, bridge, concerts, and room rentals, and gathering for any real fundraising events. Our leadership and members have adapted and reimagined how to do everything. For example, this year we knew that some of you would be absolutely thrilled to join us in our sanctuary, that some of you would rather participate from home, and that some would want to decide at the last minute. We did our best to accommodate all of these possibilities. It was important to us that everyone has access to our services, but understand that broadcasting our services on Shabbat and on special holidays comes with its own set of costs. We are resilient, we are determined, and we will continue to welcome all of you, members and guests, in person and virtual, into our wonderful Hamish accessible spiritual home. But to do this, we need you to open your heart and your checkbook. We ask those of you here in our sanctuary, as well as those at home, to respond as generously as you are able to our Kol Nidre appeal. I ask you to really think about the value of a synagogue that exists to pass on our traditions, to educate, to do good work by helping those in need, that provides a place to gather for holidays, worship, Passover Seders, Shabbat dinners, God willing. All the things our founders intended Temple Sinai to be, plus that has made the leap to become accessible for those who are not able to come in person. And whenever you see our address, 2475, remember that it represents life, the life and the light of Judaism that we want to carry on for future generations. For those of you here with us in person, you have received a pledge card when you came in, or there's one on your seat. Please think about what you're able to give and then consider pulling the next tab up. The envelope also includes a card to donate to Israel Bonds. This benefits both Israel and Temple Sinai, so that would be wonderful too. You may leave your pledge card in the large bowls in our lobby as you leave the building, or mail it in the enclosed envelope. For those watching from home, please note the screen with instructions on how to donate at the very end of the service. You can donate either by phone when our office reopens on Friday and thereafter, or online at sinaidonate.org. The instructions will be there on your screen. Thank you all for your report. May we be in a full sanctuary without masks next year.
Thank you, Betty. Very well said. Keep in mind that tzedakah is 1/3 of the 3 things that we are meant to do to lessen the severity of the decree. So it's a wonderful place, and we love it. We continue now on page 25, at the top of the page, for Shema Kolenu.
Adonai Eloheinu, Hu Tzrofen Aleinu, Kabel Birachamim, Utetzon Tefilateinu.
We read together at the bottom of the page. Hear our call, Adonai our God. Show us compassion. Accept our prayer with love and goodwill. Take us back, Adonai. Let us come back to you. Renew our days as in the past. Hear our words, Adonai. Understand our unspoken thoughts. May the speech of our mouth and our heart's quiet prayer be acceptable to you, Adonai, our rock and our redeemer. Do not cast us away from your presence or cut us off from your Holy Spirit. Do not cast us away when we are old. As our strength diminishes, do not forsake us. Do not forsake us, Adonai. Be not far from us, our God. With hope, Adonai, we await you. Surely you, Adonai, our God, you will answer. We can close our books for a moment. I would like to begin my sermon tonight with a story. And this is adapted from The Legends of the Jews by Louis Ginsberg. Once, the king of Persia was very ill, and his physician told him he could be cured by nothing but the milk of a lioness. The king accordingly sent a delegation with rich presents to Solomon, the only person in the world who might, in his wisdom, know how to obtain lion's milk. Solomon charged Benaiah, his chancellor, to fulfill the Persian king's wish. Benaiah took several goats, and each day he threw one to the lioness. After some time, the lioness became familiar with him. Eventually, he could approach her close enough to draw milk from her. On the way back to the Persian king, the physician who had recommended the milk cure had a dream. All the organs of his body, his hands, feet, eyes, mouth, and tongue, were quarreling with one another, each claiming the greatest share of credit for procuring the remedy for the Persian monarch. For example, the hands said that they were the ones who held the udders to squeeze out the milk, and so on. The tongue argued vociferously that it should be granted the most credit. The other organs laughed and rejected the tongue's claim as totally unfounded. When he awakened, the dream about his tongue plagued the physician, and when he appeared before the king, he said carelessly, "Here is the dog's milk, which we went to fetch for you." The king, enraged, ordered the physician to be hanged because he had brought the milk of a canine instead of the milk of a lioness. During the preliminaries to the execution, all the limbs and organs of the physician began to tremble in fear, whereupon the tongue said, "Did I not tell you that I am the most important organ in the body? If you will acknowledge my superiority, I shall even now save you from death." All the physician's other organs gave deference to the tongue, and the physician begged the executioner to take him to the king one more time. Once in the presence of his master, the doctor begged him as a special favor to try to drink the milk he had brought. The king granted his wish, recovered from his sickness, and dismissed the physician in peace. So it came about that all the organs of the body acknowledge the supremacy of the tongue. Judaism understands speech to be extremely powerful. Tonight, we heard the chanting of Kol Nidre. Many Jews do not understand the words of this ancient text. For one thing, it's not a prayer at all, actually, but a legal transaction of sorts, since it has to do with vows, a matter considered to be in the category of business by the ancient rabbis. It is also not written in Hebrew, but in Aramaic, a sister language now mostly understood only by rabbis and scholars. For another thing, it is usually given a translation which is not its original intent. The text has been reinterpreted as meaning that all our oaths between this Yom Kippur and the next be nullified should we be unable to fulfill them. And that is the way it has been translated in Gates of Repentance. If you're used to that translation, then you may not have recognized this. But the original wording is that all our vows and oaths, which we utter from this Yom Kippur until the next, be considered null and void, period. And a little bit later, if you want to check in the booklet, I didn't point it out at the time, but on pages 5 and 6, we included both translations so that you could compare them. This fact has created a great deal of controversy throughout history. There has been a long-standing misapprehension that this text originated from conversos during the Spanish Inquisition. It has been thought that it was said by those Jews who had pretended to convert to Christianity to avoid expulsion or torture or death, to give them the comfort of knowing to themselves and to God that their vows of Christianity to the outside world would be of no consequence. However, scholars have traced the Kol Nidre back to the 7th century, so it did not originate in the time of the Spanish Inquisition. Understandably, throughout history, Jews feared that Gentiles would not trust their word knowing of the existence in Jewish tradition of this piece of the liturgy. And, in fact, in some places during medieval times, a Jew who was about to give testimony in a secular court had to wear tefillin, a kippah, and a talit, and hold and kiss a Torah scroll removed from a synagogue. He then had to face eastward and declare loyalty to the nation he was in and swear that his testimony would not be annulled by Kol Nidre. To avoid these problematic issues, Jews have tried everything from slight alterations in the Aramaic text to doing away with the Kol Nidre entirely because of their discomfort with the text and its possible implications that our promises may not be valid. For example, Mordechai Kaplan, the founder of Reconstructionist Judaism, believing that the reason for people's reluctance to give up the text was because of its beautiful and haunting melody, reset the tune to Psalm 130. However, congregants responded negatively, so he modified the text of the traditional version slightly instead. It just wasn't Kol Nidre to them. The true meaning of Kol Nidre is the acknowledgement of the power of our words. Jewish tradition holds speech in extremely high regard. In fact, we read in Bereshit, the story of the creation of the world, that God spoke the world into being. Let there be light, and there was light. Even though nobody had even been created yet to hear the words, God spoke them anyway. God's words created the world. In our daily liturgy, in the preliminary morning prayers, the Baruch She'amar prayer begins with the words, Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam. Blessed be the one who spoke, and the world came into being. In the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, the book of Proverbs teaches that words have the power to create and destroy. The book of Psalms, in Psalm 34, states, "Who is the one who is eager for life and desires years of good fortune? Then guard your tongue from evil and your lips from deceitful speech." Last week on Rosh Hashanah, we read the agonizing story of the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. At least that story has a semi-happy ending in that Isaac is not actually sacrificed. A similar story told in the book of Judges does not end so happily. In that story, a warrior, Jephthah, called Yiftach in Hebrew, triumphs in battle and vows to God that he will sacrifice whatever comes out to greet him from his house upon his return. It turns out that it is his daughter who runs out to greet her father first. Jephthah tells her about the vow, and she goes to spend 2 months with her friends to, what she says is, bewail her virginity, which means the fact that she would not live to see marriage. The story does not explicitly tell of the sacrifice, thank goodness, but the majority of commentators believe that Jephthah actually went through with the atrocious deed. If only Kol Nidre had existed back then, so that Jephthah could have believed that it could have been nullified, or better yet, that he never made such a vow in the first place. It is interesting to note that neither an angel nor God is given voice by this story, either to intervene or to comment afterward whether it was the right thing for Jephthah to have done. It is partially because of this story that rabbis have always warned people not to make vows. Later rabbinic literature teaches the same concept. You may be familiar with this story, and if you watched the family service last week, you heard it. But this is the story about the pillow and the feathers. A man goes to his rabbi because he feels terrible that he has spoken ill of someone in the community. He explains that he had only talked to one person about this woman, but that apparently the friend he had spoken with shared this information with others, who shared it with others still. While the information may have been true, it was not something to be shared publicly. The rabbi tells the man to go to his house, tear open one of the pillows from his bed next to an open window, and then to let the feathers to fly on the wind. Afterward, the rabbi tells the man to go collect all the feathers. When the man protests the impossibility of the task, the rabbi teaches, that is what you did when you went speaking ill of this woman in the community. There is no way to retrieve the words you spoke, as they too have been carried on the wind. Words can inflict devastating harm. Contrary to what children say to one another, take it back is not a real option once we've spoken our thoughts. In our daily liturgy, we are reminded of our obligation to watch what we say. Before the tefillah, or Amidah, we say, Adonai, open up my lips and let my mouth declare your praise. Then at the conclusion of the tefillah, we say, my God, guard my tongue from all evil and my lips from speaking guile. May I think before I begin to speak. May my words be gentle and wise. Thus, at the beginning and ending of our central prayer of each prayer service, 3 times a day, we are reminded how important our speech is. The chanting of Kol Nidre on Yom Kippur Eve reinforces for us each year the importance of our words and that we should not take them lightly. This is an entire category of halakha, Jewish law, relating to speech, called Shmirat HaLashon, literally the watching or guarding of one's tongue. When a person speaks badly of another person, even if he or she knows it to be true, it is considered to be Lashon Hara, literally the evil tongue. And it is prohibited except under very specific circumstances, such as to warn someone of something. The foundational text for study of this topic was written by a rabbi known as the Chofetz Chaim in the 19th century. His real name was Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan, but he became known as the Chofetz Chaim from the title of his work on Shmirat HaLashon, which has been translated into English under the title, Guard Your Tongue. It's very interesting. I looked him up the other day, and I found that there is a very rare early footage of him. We're talking the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, when he was alive. So it's really interesting to see. Not, you can't hear it, it's silent, but you can see who this man was. The laws related to Shmirat HaLashon are very difficult, even for the most meticulous of us. I will not attempt to give all of them here, but I encourage everyone to study them and to try to live up to them as best as you can in your life. They are perhaps the most difficult of all the mitzvot, the commandments, to observe, but I believe that they are one of the most important due to the power of speech. Basically, if we know or believe something bad about someone else, we should not share it. Even our body language can be Lashon Hara, such as rolling one's eyes or laughing derisively when a certain name is mentioned in conversation. The laws prohibiting such behavior in speech are said to be for everyone's benefit, not only the object of the negative speech. They are also meant to protect the speaker and the listener to the Lashon Hara. Speaking or writing Lashon Hara, as well as hearing or reading it, may negatively alter the character of both the speaker and the listener. Judaism teaches that we are not to listen to or to read Lashon Hara either. What are we to do then if we are with a friend or acquaintance and he or she starts to say something bad about another person? Well, that all depends on the circumstances. If you're alone with that friend, tradition teaches that you are very carefully to rebuke this friend and remind him or her not to speak ill of another. Yet, this is only to be done if you're alone and only if you believe that your friend has the capacity to listen constructively. Rebuke is only to be done if the person has the capacity to hear, and only then in private and with the utmost of delicacy and tact. If this is not possible, or if you are with others, such as, say, at a dinner party or an oneg, God willing, we'll have them someday, and someone speaks ill of another person, it is best to change the subject or simply to walk away. This is for your own benefit as well as for the benefit of all who are listening. As I said, these laws are really difficult. Halakha, Jewish law, teaches that there are certainly exceptions, like I mentioned, with warning someone of a danger, or in a clearly defined therapeutic setting with a therapist. The halakha also teaches that when something is said in the presence of at least 3 people, it is assumed to be common knowledge, and rules of confidentiality do not hold. This is a good reason to be careful of how we write about our feelings in email or on the internet, as it is not a confidential space, much as we would sometimes like it to be. As one of my colleagues, Rabbi Michael Fessler, once said, "At least with a feather pillow, there are a finite number of feathers. Yet with a click of a button today, our words can be sent and resent an untold number of times." This has led to many unfortunate incidents of cyberbullying, not only among adults, but even among the youngest users of the internet. There have been cases of teen suicide directly linked to the abuse of the internet and the cyberbullying taking place there. Perhaps because it is such an informal form of communication, people seem even less able or even willing to take care with what they say on a computer than they do when face-to-face with another human being. This has been sadly true even within the Jewish community, as many subjects have divided us. Unfortunately, not everybody has handled these differences diplomatically. The rhetoric on social media and even on Jewish websites has turned vitriolic at times. On the other hand, the use of social media and websites has been turned against us as Jews, and we need to stand unified now more than ever. I'm talking specifically about BDS, Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement, that has been hurting Israel and encouraging anti-Semitic sentiment. This is the worldwide campaign to put pressure on the state of Israel to end what proponents of BDS claim to be the Israeli occupation of Palestinian land. It likens Israel to South Africa during apartheid and claims that Israel's war of independence was a Palestinian genocide or ethnic cleansing. While we may be divided on many issues, including how best to achieve peace with the Palestinians, American Jews need to stand with Israel now, perhaps more than ever. Every day, lies are perpetrated against Israel and against Jews in general, and they have been leading to rising anti-Semitism and violence against Jews all over the world. We need to unite as a community and use our speech to fight against those who are set to destroy us, rather than dividing ourselves further from within. Controlling how we speak and write to and about Jews with varying opinions about our politics is one way we can present a united front in the face of these very real threats. In today's world, when words are sent at the speed of light, it is more difficult than ever to avoid Lashon Hara. We live in a society that is not geared to watching what we say. In fact, with gossip television and reality shows, blogs writing negatively of other people, so-called news shows sensationalizing negative reporting on even the most trivial matters of famous people, it seems that we're encouraged to gossip for social approval. Yet as Jews, we learn just the opposite. Our language is the fabric of our community, and our community will only be upheld if we hold our language in the utmost regard. One way in which humans differ from other creatures in the animal kingdom is our ability to use language. It is one of the tasks, in fact, that God gives to Adam in the Garden of Eden, that of naming. We can choose to use that gift for the betterment of the world and toward tikkun olam, repairing our world, or we have the power to destroy it. Created in the image of God, who spoke the world into being, we are breathed into existence by God at every moment. Let us use this breath to exhale meaningful, life-affirming, positive verbal exchanges with one another. This year, may we learn the message of Kol Nidre to choose our words wisely, making positive commitments that we can keep, and inspiring acts of beauty and kindness through our language. Gamar Chatima Tova, may you be sealed in the book of life for a good and sweet year. Thank you. We turn now in our Machzor booklet, in our booklet of prayers for this holiday, page 26. And we will open the ark and rise for the 13 midot, or the 13 attributes of the divine.
Adonai, Adonai,
Erachum v'chanun, erech apayim, rav chesed ve'emet, notzer chesed lalafim, nose avon v'fesha, v'chata v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, Erachum v'chanun, erech apayim, v'rav chesed ve'emet, notzer chesed lalafim, nose avon v'fesha, v'chata v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, compassion and tenderness, patience, forbearance, kindness, awareness, bearing love from age to age, lifting guilt and mistakes, and making us free. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. Some of us have cancer. Some have lost strength in body. Some have lost memory and speech. Some of us are in pain. Some can't find work. Some of us bear the marks of human cruelty inside, where the scars don't show. Some live with depression. Some battle addiction, and many feel alone. Some have known shattered marriages, trust betrayed, hopes destroyed. Some of us have lost the ones we love far too soon, and some have lost a child. All of us have seen suffering in our midst. All of us know the ravages of war for which there are no words. Avinu Malkeinu, why? Avinu Malkeinu, are you there? Do you care? Avinu Malkeinu, hear our pain, hear our anger, hear our grief. Avinu Malkeinu, here is our prayer. Give us the strength to go on. Give us reasons to get up each day. Give us purpose and persistence. Help us to fend off fear and to hold on to hope. Help us to be kind. Don't make us bow or grovel for your favor. Give us dignity and give us courage. Please join me. Avinu Malkeinu, show us the way to a year of goodness. Restore our belief that the world can be better. Restore our faith in life. Restore our faith in you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu maasim, asimonu, tzedakah v'chesed, asimonu tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshienu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu maasim. Avinu Malkeinu, Shama Koleinu, hear our voices. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lifanecha, we have sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu Va'alol Aleinu V'tapeinu, have mercy on us and on our families. Avinu Malkeinu, Kaleh Dever Echer V'ra'av Me'aleinu, remove all sickness, war, and hunger from us. Avinu Malkeinu, Kaleh Kol Tsar Mastin Me'aleinu, Avinu Malkeinu, abolish hatred and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, kodveinu b'sefer chayim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of life. Avinu Malkeinu, chadesh aleinu shana tova. Avinu Malkeinu, may this be a good year for us all. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu maasim, asimonu, imanu tzedakah v'chesed, asimanu tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshienu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu maasim. Avinu Malkeinu, kodveinu b'sefer parnasa v'chalkala. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of good livelihood. Avinu Malkeinu, kodveinu b'sefer zechuyot. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of meritorious acts. Avinu Malkeinu, kodveinu b'sefer slicha u'mechila. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of forgiveness. Avinu Malkeinu, kabel b'rachamim uvratzon et tefilatenu. Avinu Malkeinu, willingly accept our prayers. Avinu Malkeinu, petach sha'arei shamayim litfilatenu. Avinu Malkeinu, open heaven's gates to our prayers. Avinu Malkeinu, aseh lema'ancha im lo lema'anenu. Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake, if not for our sake. Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious and respond to us, for we are too poor in deeds. Deal with us justly and lovingly, and redeem us. Avinu Malkeinu, Hanenu vanenu, ki ein banu masim. Asimonu, imanu tzedaka v'chesed. Asimanu tzedaka v'chesed, ve'hoshienu. Avinu malkeinu, chanenu vanenu. Avinu malkeinu, chanenu vanenu, ki ein banu masim. Asimonu, imanu tzedaka v'chesed. Asimonu tzedaka v'chesed, ve'hoshienu.
We continue on page 30 with the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Our thoughts turn to loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days and those who died at this season in years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing to this new year and always. If you are thinking of someone at this time whom you are mourning, either because you are in a period of mourning or because this is a yahrzeit of someone, an anniversary of someone who has passed, please say the name or names of those you are thinking of now. So for all of those whom we have named, as well as all of those who were murdered in the Shoah, we rise in solidarity with mourners everywhere as we recite the Mourner's Kaddish on page 31. Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. Amen. Be'alma tivarach kirite v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehe Shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal Shemei Kudusha b'richu. Le'ela u'le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata.
tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim tovim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. May God, who makes peace on high, bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who live on earth. And let us all say, Amen. Take a seat for our closing song, Adon Olam. And this is a melody I think a lot of you know. It's one that I grew up with in childhood. This always reminds me of the High Holy Days, this particular melody. Please join us, Adon Olam on page 33.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'egnoso v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nidra ve'acharei tichot kol levado yimloch nora ve'hu hayo ve'hu hoveh ve'hu yiyeh Shilo lehachbira, v'li reishit, v'li tachlit, v'lo ha'oz, v'ha'misra, v'hu eli, v'chai go'ali, v'tzochev li, v'ein sara, v'nisi umanos li, v'nat kosi, v'yom ekra, v'yado, afkid ruchi, v'ein tisha, v'yahira, v'ein ruchi, geviyati, Adonai li, v'lo ira.
Gamar Chatima Tova. See you in the morning.